Hey, youth workers, Paul Turner here from the discipleproject.net, and I have a fantastic interview for you today. It's with my friend Ryan Latham, and I hope that you are not in this situation, but there are many youth workers who are losing their jobs during this pandemic season, and I brought Ryan on here because he has a fantastic resource and brings some great encouragement of things you could be doing if in fact your job is in trouble. And so today I want to interview Ryan and let him offer you some tips and a way for you to get even more tips to be able to deal with the situation you may be in today. So today I bring to you my interview with Ryan Latham. And now we have with us, as I stated in the introduction, and if you're watching via YouTube, welcome. Those that are listening during via the podcast, thank you for listening. And this is my first two-time guest. This is a momentous occasion. Let's call it that, a momentous occasion. Let me introduce you, Ryan Latham. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to hang out, and thanks for the opportunity to share with your listeners and your audience, man. We go back for a little while here. We wrote a book together.
That's
Been
right.
on the podcast twice now. I feel like I'm family.
You are family, sir. And I'm going to put a link, by the way, if you would like to listen to Ryan and I pontificate about our book. I'm going to put the episode down in the show notes and in the description box below on the YouTube channel. And it's still a good book, by the way. I just want to say that the Prepared for Impact is still a good book, even this many years later. And there it is right there. He is showing it to me right there. Prepare for Impact, the 12 keys to unlock your you and your youth ministry.
I have it right here.
That's right. See, I have that memorized right here in the old noggin I'm pointing to. For those that can't see, I know we're doing this via podcast, so those that are listening, I will try to be as descriptive as possible. And those that are watching via YouTube, you can clearly see what we're doing. The YouTube audience gets to see me occasionally take a sip of coffee. And those of you that are listening may hear me take a sip of coffee because I gave up coffee for Lent for 40 days. And so I'm simply taking the time to enjoy it. So please allow me the moment. Ryan, please feel free to say anything you like while I take this long sip of coffee here. Tell the folks a little bit more about yourself if you'd like to.
Yeah, so thanks, Paul. So I've been in youth ministry for about 20 years and been in multiple size churches, church of 100, and all the way up to multi-site, multiple thousand church as well. I was in California for most of my time, but I've been in Oklahoma for 9 years. So I know a little bit of the West Coast style and a little bit of the Midwest style. And Paul, you got a little bit of East Coast side. There we go. So we got kind of the whole covered of kind of what ministry looks like over the years and across the nation here. So it's been a great journey of learning, growth, and man, lot of learning in the last few weeks, right?
Oh, no question. This is, you know, we had talked previous to this, we talked, and I know we're going to be sharing today a little bit about a resource that you have for youth workers. And I wanted to talk about that now because I think it's the best way to communicate what you've written down, because you've written something. Tell us a little bit about what you have written, and then let's go further deeper into it.
Yeah, so I wrote an ebook, basically trying to help. You know, we're kind of like all quarantined right now at the time of this recording, and the whole reason why is to kind of like flatten the curve of the outbreak. And so I kind of wrote this book as to kind of maybe help flatten the curve of people who potentially might lose their job, or at least to help them, give them the best chance to possibly not lose their job, because I've been there. I went through a season similar to this many years ago, and unfortunately my church that I was in wasn't able to recover, and I ended up losing my job. And so because of that, I decided, hey man, I want to write this book to help myself. You know, I mean, I wish I would have heard or knew some of these things back then. And so I said, hey, let me just write this book. Maybe we can flatten the curve a little bit.
Yeah, and getting, you know, crisis can be anything, right? Let's define this too. Crisis is not just a pandemic. And by the way, this is not the only crisis the church has ever faced, and it's not the only crisis that the church will ever face. So the things we're going to be sharing today, youth workers, are going to be critically important that you keep these things in mind no matter what's happening, whether that's a church split, whether that's a natural disaster, whether you get fired. By the way, getting fired is a crisis. And how do I know that? Ask my wife. It's a she informed me several times. The 2 times that I've been let go, not for anything illegal or immoral, I must put out there, but because, and I put in quotes, not a good fit or not right for us. I've heard that. And my wife has determined that those things are a crisis. And I would agree with her. I don't know if I agreed with her then, but I agree with her now. That is certainly is a crisis. And we want to, both Ryan and myself, want you as youth workers to know that crisis is no joke. It's a serious deal. It causes anxiety. It causes depression. It causes all kinds of things in your world because you're asking a lot of questions. And that's the reason why I wanted Ryan to come on today and talk about these things. Ryan, you're going to share with us 4 tips for serving your pastor and saving your job. That's really what we're talking about, because there's a lot of youth workers maybe who are listening to this, depending on how many weeks this pandemic goes, how long we're on lockdown. We don't know where churches are at in this whole process financially. Even if the churches let people in at certain time, we don't know what the percentage of people are coming back. Is that, and you're understanding this, like I said, I've heard of one case so far of a youth worker let go because the church, it was either because they were worried that they would have to pay them and tithes were not coming in or whatever was happening there. But you've heard of a couple of other cases as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a lot of church staffing and consulting and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we're definitely hearing of that starting to rise a little bit.
Okay, well, go ahead and lead us in here and tell us about the first tip you think that's really important for youth workers to know in a crisis, especially a crisis like now, but a crisis anytime.
Yeah, I mean, really, Paul. Yeah, I mean, any crisis. And again, I've gone through some local crisis in my my own cities before, and I wish I had known these things then. So the first one, I think, just teeing up right where you were saying, people not sure what the tithes are going to look like, that kind of thing. And so I think the very first thing that I would suggest is this, and I know it's going to sound a little crazy, but I would suggest doing a voluntary pay reduction. I just think that you should go in, you should really look at your budget. I mean, like right now, for example, we're not traveling as much, so we'd have gas money. We're not eating out as much. We're not doing some of these things that we're not doing what we normally would. I would really look at your budget and say, man, can we cut back 7%? Can we cut back 10%? Right? And I would just go into your pastor or your supervisor and just say, hey, if your church has not already done mandatory, I would go in and just go ahead and lead with, I'm aware of what's going on, and I would like to offer a 10% pay reduction over the next 3 months. And your church is open to saying, no, we're good, we're fine. But I think what it does is communicate to your leadership, look, I'm aware of what's going on. I want to be a part of the solution and not just sit around and wait for the problem to escalate. The other side of that is this, is what I'm hearing some people do, is because maybe there's a mentality shift, like, man, I don't want to take a pay cut, or man, I don't really want to do that, or some churches don't really want to do mandatory pay cuts. I'd encourage you to increase your giving. Plant extra seeds right now and just say, man, I'm going to go above and beyond my 10%. I'm going to give 15%. I'm going to give 20%. And I'm going to plant extra seeds right now in this season. When the soil is tilled the most and it's tilled up and it's all, plant good seeds in that space right there, and believe that it's going to take root, and maybe it'll help save your job. Because here's the math. I mean, it doesn't work out exactly, Paul, but basically think about this. If you've got a staff of 10 people and everybody takes 10% pay cut, that's somebody's salary, right?
Yeah.
You're saving someone's job, and the job that you save, it might be yours. So I'm just thinking, let's just try and do some voluntary pay stuff.
Well, listen, if you're on a staff of 10 and you're the only person that voluntarily goes in and asks for a pay cut, my guess is you got a 1 in 10 shot of saving your job purely because you were first to jump the gun there and say, hey, I'll take the cut. I'll
Well,
fall
and
on my sword first.
we all know this, Paul, right? That actions speak louder than words, and
Yep.
finances speak loud. When you're willing to take a hit financially, people know that you're serious.
Well, and I think too, Ryan, you bring up an excellent point. Uh, and in reality, what the youth pastor, I know many youth pastors, I understand you're worried about your youth ministry. And we're saying, and Ryan is saying, you need to get big picture right now. Don't worry about the youth. Let's be concerned about the whole church. This is your youth pastor. This is your shining moment, really. This is where you get to step up, okay, and earn what little money you make, right?
Oh,
Not that you haven't earned it already.
I mean, this is really what happened to me is during that crisis, I was just so laser focused on, I want to be the best youth pastor. I want
Yeah.
to steward. I just want to be a youth pastor. I just want to serve these. But I never took a step back and said, how's this impacting my church? How's
Yeah.
this impacting my pastor? How's this
Yep.
impacting, and so I just was like, I want to be a youth pastor. And so what I'm saying is exactly what you're saying. We need to take a little bit of a step back and say, part of my responsibility is to help my pastor in this season and to help my church in this season so that I'm actually still on staff to be the youth pastor.
That's right. Sir, that's right. If you don't serve your pastor now, you may not be able to have a youth ministry or do the things that you really want to do in your heart. So serve your pastor, save your job. That's the focus here. That's where and once again, youth workers, I just want you to know that this is your opportunity to step up. And if you're the only, by the way, we talk about a staff of 10, you're maybe the only, the other guy in the church, right? There's the pastor and there's you who don't do the 10 other jobs of the 10 other staff members that may be in another church.
Yep.
You are sowing towards your own future. It's literally what you're doing. And you have an opportunity to show your pastor that you just have expanded your mind and you are on team pastor right now. You're
Absolutely.
on team church. You're not team youth ministry, you're team church, big picture. And you do that. And I think Ryan and I agree, you take care of that and God will take care of your youth ministry while you're busy taking care of the church.
Absolutely.
So Ryan, give us a number 2. What's a number 2 tip that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So right now, I think that, most people's mission statements and vision statements and all of those things are kind of not really working right now. And so I think what we need to have right now is a temporary rally cry. And we really need to begin to say, okay, this is not who we are permanently, but this is who we are currently. This is what we're going after right now. This is what we're currently focused in on. And it's got to be more than just more Facebook Live, more Instagram Live, more YouTube Live, it's got to be more than just that, but it's got to be an actual temporary rally cry that says, okay, this is what we're about right now. And is it engagement? Is it likes? Is it views? What is it that we're going after right now? How are we going to disciple? If you're a discipleship-oriented youth ministry, how are we discipling students right now? If you're an outreach-oriented youth ministry, how are we doing outreach right now, right? Maybe, whatever your youth ministry was about, how are you going to bridge that into this season right now? But it's got to be a temporary rally cry. Again, it's not who we are permanently, but this is who we are currently, so that all of your leaders can get behind you, your staff can get behind you. Everyone knows what we are measuring. Are we winning or are we losing? We can know because we've got this temporary rally cry that's so much focused on what we're doing right now.
And you don't know your temporary rally cry, that may be your permanent rally cry, because I'm
hearing a lot of people saying, man, we threw it all out and we reevaluated and we really like this.
And absolutely, there's no guarantee, by the way, youth workers, that your church is, and whatever you think normal is, you can toss that out too, because there are discoveries being made amongst churches on what's working. Churches that have never done a Facebook Live are doing it. Those that are meeting via Zoom are doing it. And they're discovering new dynamics of what it means to do church, but also be church. And in doing that, that temporary rally cry might be the new rally cry. for many churches. And
Yeah,
so,
I don't think we're going back to the old normal.
and I for one am kind of grateful for that.
I am too.
I'm kind of stoked, and pastors, you should be stoked too a little bit, because if this shook up your church, that means God has room to do some things that He did not have room to do before. So, kudos, God, go God. Thank you for showing us, even in this time of crisis, that you're prepared, that you love to do new things in tough times. Uh, Give us number 3.
All right. So
Sir.
number 3 would be to over communicate. Over communicate
Can
right
you say that
now.
one more? Say it one more time.
Yeah, over communicate.
Okay.
You can't over communicate enough right now. I mean, you guys hear that all the time in regular ministry, regular context. But I just can't overemphasize that even more right now. Over communicate. I think a lot of times we think, well, we put it up on Instagram, we put it up on stories, everybody saw it, right? Well, you are fighting against algorithms that you don't have control of. And so just because you put it up on Instagram story doesn't mean that every kid saw it, every leader saw it, every parent saw it. There's algorithms that you're fighting against. There's time that you're fighting against. There's all these things that you're fighting against. And so what I'd say is, man, if you're gonna do 3 things this week, make sure you email it. I know, email is still a thing.
It is.
Email it, text message it, group me it, Instagram it, whatever, do it, Mixer, TikTok, whatever, get that same piece of image, artwork out 5, 6, 7 different ways, so that everybody gets it, so that your leaders see it in an email, your parents see it in an email, maybe another student sees it in a group me, all these kinds of things. The other thing is this: over communicate to your staff. Okay, right now, you guys are all in homes, working separate, virtual. For a lot of you, that's the very first time that you've ever done that. I'll tell you this: your pastor wants to know what you're doing. Your pastor wants to know what you're doing. And he might be, she might be saying, yeah, I trust you, I believe you, but they are not going to be upset at you if you do a voluntary accountability sheet. And what I mean by that is this: is just simply turn into your pastor, your supervisor, hey, here are the 5 things that we've done this week. Here's what our metrics that we're measuring right now that we've agreed is our temporary rally cry. Here's the metrics. Here's what we're going after. Here's what we're doing. It doesn't have to be a time log to say I woke up at 8 and I did this. But what I'm saying is just some basic stuff. Hey, here's what we did. Here's what it looked like. Here's what we're measuring. Here are some wins. Here's something that we're celebrating. Man, look at this key volunteer. So make sure you're communicating to your students, to your leaders, and to your staff, so that everybody knows clearly what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right, because let's be honest, many people in the congregation, and even on your staff, doesn't know what the youth pastor does sometimes.
In normal, like in person, everyone just thinks you sit around and pop balloons and hang out at football games.
Right. This is your opportunity once again, youth pastors, to prove your value. Not that you're not valuable, but you get to prove it through communicating. I believe you say it this way too. You want to communicate up, you want to communicate sideways, and you want to communicate downwards.
Yeah,
and downwards is not a derogatory. It's just in line with how the thing goes. Who you're over, who you're serving.
Yep. Yeah, the easy way to think of it is upside down communication, right? So up, those above you, your supervisors, sideways, to those that you're leading with, and then down to your students, those that you're leading. Yep.
Parents, by the way, communicate with your parents want to know what you're doing for their students, how they're keeping connected, all that kind of stuff. So over communicate in all 3 of those areas.
Most parents aren't on Mixer. They aren't on TikTok. They aren't on Instagram stories all day. So you got to make sure to communicate.
Go where they are and over communicate on that platform to whomever. If it's your pastor and he's not anywhere else, email. That's all you can do. All right, Mr. Ryan Latham, number 4.
Number 4, here we go. And this one's huge, is be an encourager. Okay, look, your pastor needs some encouragement right now. Pastor, you're doing a great job. Especially for a lot of you, your pastor has probably never done all these Facebook Live and Instagram Live things. So it's all new for them. Now, for a lot of you, you've grown up with it, or it's been a big part of your ministry for a long time. And so you're kind of like, man, they're not doing it very good. Look, they're doing a lot better than the zero that they were doing before. Encourage them, help them. Just, Pastor, you're doing a great job, man. I love what we're doing. Be an encourager. I'd say this: be an optimistic, but be real. So there is hard things going on. There isn't, perfect blue skies, but be optimistic, man. We're going to get through this, guys. We're going to reach students even in the midst of this. We're going to disciple students right now. Be optimistic, but also be real. I understand that's hard, but we're going to still do great things. So I'd say be an encourager. Make sure that you're encouraging people in different ways. So publicly, man, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, on whatever it is you're doing, publicly encourage, publicly celebrate people, but also privately. Send them a note, send them a text, all those kinds of things. Because, Paul, the old school is becoming the new school. A handwritten note in this day is going to go way further than just texting somebody.
That's it. And in a time when there's not a lot of contact, not a lot of, you have a way, youth workers, to reduce the social distancing by being more personable, right? You don't have to show up. You can show up in something you actually mail. The post office is still open. You can actually physically mail things to your kids. That's something unique for them, to actually get something in the mail.
Absolutely. And you're going to stand out if you do that.
That's right. You can call parents one night, and I have a youth worker who's doing this, who is calling families and say, hey, look, don't order dinner tonight. I've just called Grubhub and they're going to drop off food for you. Simple things, encouraging, right? We're going to get through this. We're going to do it. And encouraging all three ways, upside down, right? Encouraging upward, encouraging to your leaders, and encouraging to those whom you serve. And I think that's so critical. By the way, can I throw one other person you probably need to throw in there? That's your spouse. If you're going home every night, youth worker, and you and your wife, I know we complain about this, right? The old joke was, that families go home and have roast, pastor for dinner because they criticize the pastor, the church, all that stuff. Youth workers, take the time to pray. Don't be those people that we talk about, right? Don't be those things. Be you and your wife, you and your spouse, you and your kids, whomever's in your home. Be encouraging towards one another and speak well, right, of the church. And best, if you cannot say anything, as my mother used to say, probably don't say anything at all. Be sure to just be encouraging in your own home, and focus on the things that are important right there. Would you say that's a fair assessment there, Ryan?
Yeah. Your family has got to come first in this time. And and that'd be huge. Encouraging your family, encouraging them, talking highly of the church right now is huge.
And being realistic. We're not saying be so silent. It's okay to say, I don't know about this, or I don't know about that. Once again, like you said, it's not pie in the sky. It's just being realistic, but don't go the other way and be critical of your pastor or the church during this time. It's stressful for them as well. It's as stressful for them as it is for you. So keep that in mind, youth workers. We want to encourage you as youth workers because we know it's stressful for you. Listen, we're not putting anybody down. We're saying, look, we are going to get this together. All of us, Ryan and myself, who serve youth workers in churches, we serve you guys. We know that everything that's happening affects us and affects you. And that's why we've come to here today to talk, to encourage, to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. We don't want to be doomsayers. We want to be people who are encouraging and people of the light and people who are loving other people. And we want to love you, youth workers. We care about you. That's why we're here. Ryan, we've only been able to share 4 tips today. You have 10 total. And I know that you have written this ebook to share with youth workers. It's absolutely free. Tell them where they can go ahead and get the rest of these tips, because if we did this, we could share them all. It would take about 2 hours, but we don't have 2 hours. So I want them to get this, because for now, but like we said, your church, this is not the first crisis your church has ever been. It will not be the last. And these things are gold nuggets that will take you home through the future.
Yeah, they can go to renewedleadership.org/myjob. You can go to renewedleadership.org/myjob, or just go to the blog and it'll be there as well. Paul's going to have it in the comments and the links below.
Right. For you for listening, they'll be in the show notes. You'll find them there. You on the YouTube right here. The YouTube. I just sounded like a 80-year-old man. You kids on the YouTube. Listen, you viewers that are watching this via YouTube, it will be down in the description below. You know where to go. I put stuff there all the time. You know what's happening. So guys, and by the way, if you're brand new here, thank you so much for being a part today. Thank you for watching. If you're first time listener to the podcast, thank you for listening to the Youth Ministry in Motion podcast. It is here to motivate you and keep your youth ministry moving forward. And those of you that are watching via YouTube, you know, when I show up here and I have a guest, or I just bring you ideas or tips, those things, is because I want your youth ministry to succeed. I want you to build a successful youth ministry because I want you to make more disciples. That's the whole goal. Ryan has done the same thing for many years. And so we are pro youth workers. We are pro youth ministry. And we want you to be pro church right now. We want you to think big picture, big scope, and go out there and lift your other people up, lift your pastor up, and do all those things. We want to hear from you too, by the way. Which of these tips do you need to focus on? Comments down below about anything that Ryan has said. We want your comments here on YouTube. And if you are listening via the podcast, by the way, you can go ahead and leave some comments there on SoundCloud. And you can leave some comments down below as well. So Ryan, thank you so much for today. Thank you for coming and sharing at this critical point. And a lot of youth workers that are listening today who may find themselves at this juncture. And I believe the other 6 tips are going to be of great value to them. And I hope that all of you that are listening and watching will go and download them. Guys, thanks for watching today. I appreciate you being a part of the conversation today. If you have any questions or comments, or you just need prayer, leave a comment down below. If you're brand new here to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love you to be part of the community here, and you will get videos in your inbox on a regular basis if you subscribe. So be sure to, if you're a regular, go ahead and hit that like button, because if you hit that like button, that tells me you like the video and you want more like it. So guys, that's it. I hope you're not in this situation, but I hope Ryan has brought some encouragement to you today, and that you're going to weather this storm. The Lord is with you, so don't freak out. No matter what happens, God is walking with you through this. So that's it for today, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video.